Let's pivot a little bit and talk about an issue that's really raging as a national debate. We have Black Lives Matter, we have a return to law and order politics in our national politics. What's your criminal justice platform?
That is something that I've been talking about with folks. I I think when I become mayor, that's one of those things that I'm going to have to kind of develop on the fly to a certain degree, because there's a lot of aspects of the county police system that I don't think I'm going to be fully apprised of until I actually get in the seat. Right now, under a county system, I have no idea what the mayor actually controls or which she doesn't control, or and then you get into these weird situations where I'm not even sure who speaks in regards to criminal justice and policing in the city, because it's like I hear Scott Thompson more than I've ever heard the mayor speak. And when the mayor has spoken on these things, she said things that are so misleading that it's like I have no idea. And now we're in this morass where it's kind of like, I'm somebody that is considered to be informed about a lot of things. So I'm embarrassed to a certain degree that I have no idea how our police system works. I'll tell you one thing. We have a county police system now that the officers can come from almost anywhere in the state. There's a level of fear that's been ginned up of residents that means that if you get pulled over because of your registration or you got a busted tail light, within 10 minutes, there's 6 cop cars there. I got pulled up, like I forgot to renew my registration once. And I stopped at, I was driving down Hatton Avenue. I was waving at some guys standing outside the barbershop because I live in Parkside and I know guys, And these are, there's a lot of Camden people that look rough or they look like, they'll kill you or something. They really cool. They're people I went to high school with and that sort of thing. And you wave, and the next thing I know, I'm being followed by county police. I had forgotten all about it because they changed the registration process. I forgot to renew my registration on my car. Next thing I know, it's 3 cop cars there. I'm a block away from my house. Like, why do I need this? And there was no sort of looking at my license saying, "Oh man, I'm sorry, you live down the street." These people in the old police force, they were people that lived in the community and stuff like that. They look at you like, "Yo, man, get your registration. Yeah, I know you probably forgot. Yo, man, just go ahead, man. My bad." It's none of that. And I know as a resident of the city of Camden that sees too many people pulled over and feels unsafe by the number of people that are in the county police. It's so odd that, they say, "Oh, well, we've got all these officers now. We're going to put all these officers on the street." And I feel less safe now with all the officers on the street than I did when we had less officers in the city police program. So, I mean, like I would love to speak definitively on my policing platform, but like right now, because of the way that the county police force was handled and brought up to begin with, like there's just so many things about it that I have no idea, that I'm dying to know, because I think policing can be done in the city much differently. But because of the way that our city police was ushered out, I'm not even sure what power the mayor has to influence that. I don't want to be the person that, just uses the bully pulpit to complain about the police. That's not, Camden's got so many issues. That's not how I want to spend my time,
So there's reforms in other communities that may be difficult to enact here because of the particular setup with the county. But what do you think about an idea like an independent civilian police review board that's been enacted in Newark? There's also legislation in other cities to decriminalize marijuana, in part to stop this culture of constantly stopping and putting people in jail based on minor possession charges.
Right.
And the head of the NAACP here, Kelly Francis, has argued
Right.
that we need legislation to make sure our police officers are from the county or even the city. What do you think about some of those more legislative fixes or process fixes, if they could be done here?
Okay. That touched on a bunch of things. I would say Civilian Review Board, I would say I'd have to look at how we construct it. I mean, the reality is it's got to be something with some teeth, but it also has to be something that we don't run into this situation where you've alienated the police force to the extent that they let crazy stuff go on. I think Baltimore is a good example of that, where, like so many things around police reforms have just been so haphazardly constructed that, the police basically said, well, we'll sit on the block, but we're not arresting anybody. We're not going to police. But I do think that we also have to start criminal justice reform from a platform that the police can be wrong. Like, yes, they make mistakes. They're not infallible. And when there are truly mistakes, people understand. But we can't fall back on this, we were trained to shoot unarmed people. That's something that the mayor and politicians can't support. In terms of some of the legislative things, in terms of like mandating where the police officers and fire, for that matter, live, I think those are difficult in the sense that it gets back to the residential housing issue. I think people underestimate how much residential housing plays into all of the problems in Camden. Police officers did used to live in the city of Camden. Firemen did used to live in the city of Camden. At a certain point in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the housing market in Camden did not keep up with the burgeoning housing market in Cherry Hill, Pennsauken, and some of these other places. And when housing wasn't competitive, when the unions that represented these people negotiated better contracts, they all left. So I don't know legislatively that you're ever going to get to a point where you're going to be able to get people, because they're a fireman or police officer, to live in Camden City. But as mayor, what I can do is I can create a platform where the residential housing in Camden is comparable to what you could get in Cherry Hill, Voorhees, or Haddonfield. And if we do that, there's a lot of people that will move to Camden. And you don't have to beg them. You don't have to put these draconian measures in place to force them to live someplace that they don't want to live. I think that's really, in my opinion, the most prudent way. If the school system if we had a school system that was sending 100% of the kids to college, and